there's been some major developments with Donald Trump and very clearly seeing RFK Jr. as a major threat. Let's go ahead and put this up there on the screen. This was leaked to Politico. They say that RFK Jr., quote, is all over conservative media and Trump's camp is very concerned. Increasingly, his frequent appearances are raising alarms at Mar-a-Lago. Quote, a sign on the rising threat that Kennedy poses to Trump. Kennedy has become popular, they say, on Fox News and Newsmax. They're getting very upset watching him be interviewed by Ben Shapiro, Glenn Beck, and Megyn Kelly. And they especially don't want him on, quote, Trump's turf. This is directly from the campaign manager. It is concerning and beyond logic that conservative platforms continue to give a voice to someone that is called the NRA a terrorist group, who believes eliminating gas-powered engine, believes in a 70% tax bracket, and generally subscribes to the same thought as school of thought as Karl Marx. Blech. So they're hitting him. They're hitting him hard. Okay. Another big sign of how afraid they are of RFK Jr. was actually this. This really blew my mind. Let's go ahead and put this up there on the screen. Donald Trump will be speaking at the Libertarian National Convention later this month. Thank you, by the way, to Dave Smith, who flagged this for me. He put out a statement saying that libertarians are some of the most independent and thoughtful thinkers in our country. I'm honored to join them in Washington, D.C. later this month. We must all work together to advance freedom and liberty for every American. We will work together and win. This was the biggest sign to me of how dangerous they view the RFK Jr. threat, because RFK Jr. specifically has got a lot of resonance amongst more libertarian-minded Americans, specifically on the issue of vaccines. Now, the Libertarian Party previously only drew a couple of % or so away from Republicans in 2016 and in 2020. But with Jr. projected to get some 13% of the vote, it's a fight to the death for every single margin. And this is very clearly an attempt. Another thing that really I saw flagged is that the MAGA War Inc. account, which is like the account by the Trump campaign to surface clips damaging to opponents, has started tweeting all kinds of stuff against RFK Jr. Here's one of their latest ones, a clip of RFK Jr. from, I think it was back in the 1990s, going after Republicans. Here's what they tweeted out.
Red state people are more likely to murder you, to impregnate your teenage daughter, to commit a violent crime against you, to commit a nonviolent crime against you, to watch Desperate Housewives on TV, to buy pornography, to buy, degenerate video games like Grand Theft Auto.
He's not wrong on Grand Theft Auto. On the rest of it, it's a little complicated. But, Krystal, I mean, all of this just shows us that they are freaking out right now. Yeah. Absolutely losing it. Because they can read a poll just like we can, where everybody thought it was going to be bad for Biden, but a lot of the evidence now shows it's bad for Trump. You know what's interesting, too? Junior just put out a new video where he really is putting himself up against Trump. He put out a challenge, and he's like, President Biden can't win. I'm challenging him to drop out, and then I will be the one who goes up against Trump. And you're like, wow, you're really, you're bringing it to Donald Trump here on every level, on social media. The campaign is really, going after you. So it's very interesting what's happening.
I'm very amused by it because it's such a monster of their own making. One of the things that they're specifically freaked out about is how much he is a fixture of the right-wing conservative podcast circuit. Right. He's going on with Ben Shapiro. He's going on with Megyn Kelly. He's on Newsmax. Right. He's on Fox News. And the way this happened is very clear. Like, when he was in the Democratic primary, they loved this guy. They loved him. They built him up. He was great. They had him on because he was a nice cudgel against the Democrats. And now, because he is ideologically, the things he's leaned into now are very coded right-wing, and they built up his favorability among Republicans by embracing him during that time period. And, really sort of made him code with the Republicans as opposed to the Democrats. You can see his approval rating with Democrats is in the toilet, and his approval rating with Republicans is sky high. So they got to do something to bring that down. The other thing that's interesting is, his anti-vax stances are the thing that at this point, that previously would have coded as liberal, right? But now it codes very much as Republican. And the more people learn about his views on vaccines, the more Republicans are open to him, and the more Democrats are, pushed away from him. We had some polling that the Washington Post highlighted that was interesting to that effect, where effectively, so the headline here, polls show how RFK Jr.'s appeal to anti-vaccine right could hurt Trump. And they asked people whether they were aware that Kennedy claims that autism is linked to vaccines and that he's floated a theory that COVID was targeted at certain races. About half of Republicans said they were aware. About 6 in 10 Democrats said they were aware. After they made people aware of that, then they asked them again with this knowledge, would they consider voting for him? Suddenly, the percentage of Republicans who said they would consider Kennedy rose by 8 percentage points. The percentage of Democrats who said they would consider Kennedy dropped by 7 points. So that's the other challenge I think that Trump is perhaps realizing, is that the more people actually focus on Kennedy, focus on the race, learn about his views, the more appealing he is to potential Trump voters versus potential Biden voters. And, you know, the other thing, Saagar, is that on the vaccine specifically, this is an area where Trump is a little shaky.
He's vulnerable.
He's a little shaky because he's the guy who, you know, Operation Warp Speed and made it happen. And, you know, he was in charge during COVID. And this was something that DeSantis tried to capitalize in his primary run against Trump. And there wasn't enough constituency for it during a primary run. But you're not talking about RFK having to out and out win. You're talking about, are there a few percentage points of people who this is their number one issue and they feel like Trump kind of failed them there and RFK saying all the right things on this issue? I think that's entirely plausible.
Absolutely. It's all a game of margins. That's what we're just discussing. That's why Trump is going to the Libertarian Convention. RFK Jr. is the biggest threat both to Biden and to Trump on the ballot that we've seen since Ross Perot and since 1968. So how all these individuals handle this is going to be really, really interesting.
Hey guys, if you like that video, go to breakingpoints.com, become a premium subscriber, and help us build the best independent media organization on the planet.
That's right. We're subscriber funded. We're building something new. We want to replace these failing mainstream media organizations.
So again, to subscribe, it's breakingpoints.com.